Hi, in this video I'm going to show you a powerful completion type supported in IntelliJ called post-suffix completion. Coming up. Hey, thanks for being here. My name is Nilton Santos. I am a senior Java developer based in New York City. This channel is all about helping you master the craft of software development. If you haven't done so, then please subscribe, like this video, hit that notification bell, leave a comment below on anything related to this video, and also share this video. Let's get started with today's video. So today I'm going to talk about a powerful completion mode in IntelliJ called post-suffix completion. If you master this completion mode, it will make you very productive. So I've got here basically all the completion types that we are going to cover. Let's start with the most simple completion type, which involves a control flow statement. So let's say you have a method, let's say control flow statement that takes a boolean, okay? And let's say that you want to check this boolean parameter, and based on it you want to do something. So your basic way of doing it is you type if, and then you'd basically do the complete statement, and then you'd put b or not b, and then you do something with it. Let's say print something to system out, right? So, but notice that this involves quite a bit of typing. A better way of doing is using post-suffix completion, which supports expressions. So you just do b, which is the target of the conditional or control flow statement, dot, then you have all these options. So we're going to cover each in turn. Let's start with the control flow statements. If, see, boom, so you have if this, and then notice that the cursor is already there at the point where now I can type something. Okay, so obviously if you want the opposite, you can type else, okay, which is if not b, then again the cursor is at position where you can start continue typing. So that's the control flow statement. Notice that if I have multiple parameters here, let's say I have b1 and I have another boolean b2, then you can see where this post-suffix completion really starts shining. I can target the parameter for this conditional statement. For example, I just type b1 and I want an if on b1, right? And again I just type something, boom, there. And I can, for example, say b2 else. Okay, so notice that by using the target of the post-suffix completion, I can decide which variable I want to use in the condition. Okay, so let's talk about loops, which is the second example here. So again, let's say loop statements, and again let's say I have a boolean b, and just like before, I could just type while and then complete the statement, and then now I need to click on the b as my target for my conditional statement, right? So with post-suffix completion, just like we saw on the if, you type the target or the variable first, in this case our parameter, dot, and then you type while, bang, and again the cursor is at the position where you can just continue typing. Okay, so now that we covered the while loop iteration, let's talk about the for loop iteration. Let's say I have here a simple array of values which is initialized with 1, 2, 3, so it's a really useful int array, and let's say that I want to iterate this array. So one way of doing it, which is really tedious, is for you to actually type all of this stuff, values.length, then you have I++, and now you can do something on it. This is way too much typing, super unproductive. A better way of doing it is to use the for I, right? But see that I still have to tab it and type my array length tab, and now I can do something with it, right? So this is definitely too much typing. By using post suffix completion with this values array, you would just do values dot for, and bang, see, I have the for each. If you want to use the iteration with an index, then just type for I. Okay, so these are the iteration using for, right? So there is also another one which is really cool. Is, let's say I have here a variable called foo, which is initialized to 42, which is the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything, if you wonder. So then what I can do is I can use this foo as my upper bound, or for my iteration. So if I want to use it for my upper bound, I use for I. Okay, see what happens there? Or I can choose instead to use my foo. This is when I am iterating in reverse order. Okay, so one thing that it's really cool, I don't know if you noticed that, but notice that when I select the option, right, Intellij is giving me a the expression, or a preview of the expression that's going to be generated, right? Okay, good. So this was loop statements. Let's cover null checks, which is something super useful also, that I use all the time. So null checks. Let's say that I have here my super useful NC method that takes an object as a parameter, and I want to check that this parameter is not null. Again, if you are not familiar with the post suffix completion, you would do this, you do the require not null, and then you type O and so on, right? Again, too much typing. There's a much faster way of doing that, which is using post suffix completion. Start with the parameter or the variable and do require not null. Bang, look at that. Another way of doing it, you can just do an n, okay, which does a null check. We're using ifs, or equivalent to that, involves a bit more typing, is if you type not null. Again, you have a nice preview, and bang, you have there the check. Okay, so moving on, let's talk about the output statements. So let's say I have here a output statements method that takes a boolean b, and let's say that I want to print it again. If, let's say, if you want to print this variable to system out, you can do that, right? This is if you don't want to use post suffix completion. So v for the variable, or p for the parameter. In this case is equivalent. So in this case, typing so, Intellij is aware of the scope and kind of does the completion for you. So it's arguably it's equivalent to do so v in this case, or using post suffix completion b dot s o u t. Okay, you could even argue that the other one is better because it wrote this. But let's make this case a bit more interesting. Let's say I have actually two booleans in the scope here, right? So two parameters. Okay, so now if I do so v, then I have to choose which one it is. Okay, so a bit better. But if I already know exactly what the target of my output statement is, then I can just do b1 dot, and then I just do system error to write the system error, or say b2, I'm gonna send it to standard output. What else I have here? And then you can do b1 to you can do a printf with it. Let's say b1 equals, or again b2, and I can do SOTV. So let's move on with our examples here. Let's talk about exceptions. Let's say I have a method f that throws an IO exception. Okay, and this method just does something, whatever, doesn't matter. And let's say that I have another method G, which invokes this method, or at least that I want to invoke it. So if I want to invoke, the method f from G, then if I do this, then IntelliJ is complaining, that's saying, that either I have to enclose this or wrap this call with a try and catch block, or I need to declare G as throwing the exception, right? This is what you do if you do here. So you can do that. Or, if you don't want to do any of that, typing, you already know that you want to enclose it, then what you do, you just do try and bang. So, right, you have the call there and wrapped on your IO exception. So now another cool example is try with resources. So let's say I have here, another method that returns an auto-closable. I mean, we're using letters. Let's continue here with the letters. It doesn't matter, so whatever. Let's just return null here. So now again, same example. I am on G and I want to call that method H, right? So what you can do is you can do H and then just to try with resources. And notice that it automatically closed or wrapped the call on the try with resources. So moving on, let's talk about runtime type information statements, things like instance ofs and casts and so on. So let's say I have here another method, runtime type information statement, and it takes an object. Let's say that I want to check the instance of these. I mean, again, if you are not familiar with post suffix completion, then so you probably do if o instance of something, let's say string, then here you would have to cast the object to a string, okay, the o, and then you would assign it to something, to an s, right? Again, too much typing. There is a much better way, much faster way of doing this by obviously using post suffix completion. So you can just do o dot inst, right? And bang, you have, I mean, IntelliJ is using the ternary operation or Elvis operation, but that's okay. So again, just an instance of a string, then it's cast, and obviously I can assign this to a variable. Related, I can actually cast this value, all right, to say a string. And then obviously I can assign this value to a local variable, local string. So let's say that I have here a something like o instance of a string, and now I want to cast this value, right? Look what happens. If I just do cast var, IntelliJ already knows that the runtime type of this object is a string, then it automatically casts it and assigns it to a string. And obviously, by clicking tab, I can change the type, S3. So let's talk about lambdas. I have here lambdas and optionals statements, right? So let's say I am calling a, one of those methods I have there. For example, the h method, right? So, and I want to wrap it on a lambda. So I just need to do that and just call lambda. Look what happens, bang. So I already have it wrapped inside the lambda. So let's say I have here a method, optional function, I don't know, that takes an int, takes a double, let's be consistent, let's say int value, double value, a long value, and an object, okay? OV, capital V. So with optionals, you can just do IV again, dot, and you just type optional. Look what happened, bang. It already, wraps the int value of this parameter, IV, on a factory. And you can do the same thing with the DV. Again, just type OPT, bang. And obviously with LV, OPT, bang. And the same thing with OV, OPT, bang, right? Really fast, neat way of creating, of coding. So lastly, let's talk about synchronized. I mean, again, it's a very simple example. Synchronized statements. I have an object, O, and you just do add synchronized here, and bang, you have it there. So this concludes the post-suffix completion video. Please leave comments below on future videos and things you want me to cover. I am Nilton from craftofprogramming.com. Thanks for watching. Take care and ciao.